Right, so this is my favourite Huddersfield team. So for me, as a fan, and people I like to watch, it could be endless. Like players like Junior Bent and Iffy and people like that. I could like list all of that team and Craig Maskell and Kev Donovan. But I'll go for my favourites. Number one, Steve Francis. Loved Franny when I was a young kid. I started training with the club, and he was brilliant with me. I was only 14 at the time, and they brought me in to train with the first team. Eric Steele was the goalie coach, and those guys were brilliant. Tony Norman, Franny. But I just remember Franny just being a proper keeper. His handling, his shot stopping. He weren't the tallest, so it was a bit of an idol for me, kind of thing. So it was nice to be able to play with him in training and things, and watch him obviously on the side of the pitch. I just thought it was class. Just everything about the guy was brilliant. I've gone for like a back three. So Peter Jackson. I used to obviously watch him at Leeds Road. I just thought it was just exactly what you'd expect from your centre half. Excellent leader. I just thought he was a great leader, and obviously, as a manager, I know he let me go as a player, but a lot of respect for him. I think everything about him is just Huddersfield Town. So he's in there. I've had to go Schindler. How can you not go Schindler? He took us to the Premier League with his penalty. But I just think, like, as a defender, he's brilliant. Like the ball playing, his ability to tackle, read the game really well. Excellent in the air, even though he's not a massive centre half. I think he's kind of like an all-round defender for me, and obviously in a big time in my Town fan kind of life. So I've gone for his back three. So I've gone Simon Charlton. Probably because of his ability at left back, but I just thought he was class. I was only a kid when I was watching the game, and the game just looked really easy for him. Good left backs always seem to have this way of getting out of tricky situations in the bottom left-hand corners of the pitch, and he was a player who I really looked at and thought was one of the outstanding performers down at Leeds Road. So linked to Leeds Road, I'm going to start with my centre midfield for Town. So Chris Marsden and Phil Starbuck. That's my midfield. Starbuck just had that something. It was like as a kid, it was just magical. There was something about him. It was unreal. He creative. He was kind of like the kind of go-to player to link play from back to front. I remember we had a race once around the Town ground when I was playing for Town Boys, and if you won, you won a Town jumper, and I won this race, and Phil Starbuck gave me the jumper. I think I've still got the picture somewhere now. Real player. Enjoyed watching him play. Chris Marsden, I thought he was fantastic. I think he was one of my dad's favourite players as well. That stiff back, kind of, a bit like a Rolls Royce. He looked even better at Southampton when he went there, but I think for Town he was just that. I don't know what it is, whether it's just the kit or what. I have no idea. But he just stands out as one of my favourite players. He probably is my favourite player for Town, Chris Marsden. Just a good footballer, excellent footballer. So that's kind of like my midfield too. And then in with them as well in the middle of the pitch, I've got to put in Aaron Moy. I think Aaron Moy is a fantastic footballer, and I think the reason why we got to the Premiership, I think he was one of the main reasons. He just ran the game. Every time we played, he just ran the show. I don't think we really need to say much about him. My wide players, Ben Thornley on the left. It was at a time where I think we had a fantastic team, and obviously things happened, not for the best, obviously, for the club with Marcus going. But I thought Ben Thornley, when he turned up, was just magic. ex-Man United player. He had that really bad injury that he got a big payoff, obviously, for it, because they thought he was going to go on to be better than Giggs. And when he played for us, obviously, his physical ability wasn't amazing, but he just so quick over the floor, and his quality from wide areas into the box was second to none. And I think for the wide player, that's what it's key. So he's in that team. And on the other side, it was a tough one. This on the other side, I wanted to be a little bit sentimental with a mate, a good mate, Gary Taylor Fletcher, but I went Dean Gore. Dean Gore was just unbelievable. Everything he touched, I think he made a massive difference when he turned up in that season when we should have got promoted. His ability on the ball was class, and like I say, I think he was probably at that time my favourite player. So he goes bang in there, and then up front, Marcus Stewart, class. It was class. I could tell you some stories about. We used to stay behind at training. I was really fortunate they was still at the club when I was coming through, and we used to stay behind at training, and I used to be kind of like the kid who just stood in goals and just let him shoot at me. And he used to set the mannequins up and whip the ball over the wall, and it was just like it was just amazing. Just his ability, just one-on-one. If you slid him through behind the defence one-on-one, he was scoring. You just knew it was that. If you look back at the goals in that season, the amount of times he kind of ghosted through the defence, probably from one of my other favourite players, Kenny Irons, but that's another story. He does go into one of my teams actually, but it was unbelievable. He was never going to miss. And then lastly, I've got this right, haven't I? I've got one left.
Yeah,
Andy Booth.
striker.
I've got to pick Booth there. You've got to pick Booth there. Everyone should have Booth in the team, surely. As a fan, Booth might talk about like your Frank Worthingtons and things like that, but Booth is a local lad. And one of my biggest bugbears is that we don't have enough local kids in and around the club anymore, with the academy taken away. There's a lot of kids from down south, etc. Booth is a Huddersfield boy, and he was outstanding for Town. And I still think slightly underrated as well, to be honest. He had everything to do there. And not just that, but it was like a goalkeeper's dream in pre-season, because you would always finish it in front of him in the running, because he was that old and decrepit and his knees were absolutely smashed, that you knew that you weren't going to be embarrassed to finish in last, because Booth would be somewhere near there. But on the flip side of that, if you had a bad day and he beat you, you'd be absolutely devastated. So that's my Town. I think that's my Town team. A lot of players linked into that. People like Simon Trevit, I always liked watching. Always stood out to me. I always sat at the dugout side down at Leeds Road, and he was always the player in front of me. And someone who he always performed. He performed well every game. 100%. Again, local lad. And like I said, the list is endless. There's a couple that I definitely wouldn't put in there, but yeah, the list is endless really. But I think that's my favourite Town team. I don't know how similar it is to some of yours, but I just think those players were just like quite iconic for my time of watching Huddersfield.
Stewart and Booth was like the dream, wasn't it? To see Stewart and Booth up front would have been the dream ticket. Yeah.
I mean, Clyde Wynard, when the link up with Clyde and Stewart at that time, it was fantastic. And I still get on with Clyde to this day. We're a great fella. Martin Smith in that season, I know went down with Mick Wadsworth, but Martin Smith was just unreal. What a player he was. We got him at the wrong time, really. I know we got him after Stewart, but he was immense. There's loads. It's endless. Danny Schofield would be right at the top for me. Danny Schofield was just a magician. Fletcher.
Do you want to do a team you played with as well? Do you want to do?
Oh yeah, I'll do my team that I played with. John, let's have a look. So I had the kids. So Andy Oldsworth, right back. Great going forwards, great on the ball, really composed. Defensively, it was quite easy. I could get past him, to be honest, but I'm only joking. But decent on the ball. Ryan Crossley, centre back, played with him at Halifax. He was just solid, absolutely amazing to play with. And these are all the kids, so I'll just go through this quickly. So Ryan Crossley, Nathan Clark, obviously brilliant, good mate of mine, read the game really well. And then obviously Lloydie, young lad. And then we looked at people like my brother playing centre mid. I think he was very unlucky at Huddersfield at the time. to be released because it was kind of like the crossover from Steve Bruce era, where he played 5 or 6 games and was well liked by Bruce, and then the next manager comes in and that's just football. It's it's like kind of rubber or green. Worthy, obviously, Danny Schofield on the wing, steady up front. There's a number of the list is endless with these kids that have gone on, and I think it's a testament to what the academy was like at the time. So that's kind of like my Huddersfield team. But my specific team that I thought I'd choose here was who I managed to play with, and this is kind of like my top players. So for a number of reasons. So Nico Varzen, I was on the bench against Wrexham, so obviously I'd still class that. I had to warm him up. I've never been as nervous on a football pitch warming Nico up, trying to volley the ball straight at him and not allowing him to move. It was like one of the strangest things. Steve Jenkins, it was class. He was so angry, the angriest man ever. And towards the academy kids, he was even angrier. If you didn't get things right, he'd let you know. I remember a story. One of the lads drove past him once in the minibus, and he pretended to one of us bang into him, and it was before a massive game. Fell over on the floor, went to the physio room, started shouting at the lad, complaining that he'd put him out for the game, last game of the season, really important. Was obviously kidding, made it up, but he was great. John Dyson, loved playing behind John Dyson. Absolutely loved it. You knew exactly what you were going to get off him. He was such a good defender. Maybe not amazing on the ball, but he was amazing in defence in front of me as a goalkeeper. Eddie Out, that time when I first came in, he was like an absolute rock. He was unbelievable. What a top fella. Again, excellent defender, great on the ball. Rob Edwards, left back, class. What a man, Robbie Edwards. You don't really need to say anything about Robbie Edwards. He's a legend. Gary Taylor Fletcher, what a player on the wing. Both feet, Jenkins jiving, excellent on the ball. His final ball, you never really saw him ping a ball. It was always like a curly toed, swooshing behind. But his final product to it was class. And then the other wing, Danny Schofield. Again, exactly the same as Fletcher, really. But then there's 4 more left here. I've put Boothie on up front because I just think, obviously, he's one of the best players I've played with on a pitch at Town. And he's a legend, so I've got to put him on. And then Jermaine Defoe, I played with him at England. I was lucky enough to play with him every day down at Lillishore. He was just frightening. Still speak to him to this day. We've still got a group of the boys, keep in contact. What a player! Just and just like what he's done in his career, the things he's done for charities, and what he did up at Sunderland with a young lad. It's just a testament to him really as a person and as a player. And then in midfield too, Joe Cole and Leon Britton. Leon Britton played with me at England, and for a full year he was injured. He had a stress fracture to his back, and he liked his food, so he had to be really careful in terms of what he was eating. He was on a strict diet plan, and we knew he was a top talent, and obviously he went on to have a fantastic career. I think he had kind of a perfect career. He played lower league and worked his way up to the Premiership, and was kind of like a pivotal player for Swansea at the time. And he stayed at that club for a long time. And then Joe Cole was just unbelievable. We used to have like a common room where we lived, and he used to come down and he'd just do tricks after tricks after tricks with a tennis ball and a Coke can, and some things that you'd never seen before. And I never forget it. We watched him play a game against Tottenham once, and a ball got played in from wide areas, and he kind of hit a ball on a Cruyff, kind of like flicked it through his legs on the volley from the edge of the area and put it in like top corner. And he was just like, wow, what a player. So that's my team. I know I've probably gone through it quite quick, but a lot to get through. But there's like I say, the players I've played with, there's a lot of quality there, and I feel quite privileged to have played with them. I know obviously my career's nothing compared to most of those, but it's nice to say that you've been able to get on a pitch and play with some of them, to be honest. And there's probably more that you could say, you know, like your Lou Macari's kind of love child, Leon Knight. He was, you know, Leon was just he was amazing. Him and Jermaine Defoe when they played England, it was just like unstoppable, really. So, but yeah, it's I'd be interested to see what your favourite town team is, because your era is similar to mine, really, and Cozzy and Neil, obviously, they're 20 years older than us, so it's a bit. I think there'd be some differences. I think that Leeds Road era for me was massive in my kind of town kind of beginnings. It was just magical for me. I think you do when you're a kid, don't you? You see these players, and you know, Craig Maskell, Chris Marsden, Kev Donovan, Simon Trevit, you know, Simon Charlton's, Ife, you know, Ronnie Jepson. You know, I even said at one point, I was talking to someone, Lee Sinnott was just one of my favourite centre halves. It was such a long time ago, I can't remember exactly how good he was, but he was just like one of the best players I could watch at Town at that time. Darren Bullock, putting frighteners up a Lee Bowyer, middle of pitch at Leeds Road, not at Leeds Road, at McAlpine, absolutely shit himself, didn't he? And it was, you know, just like things like that, it just sticks in your head, doesn't it? I found it really hard to put teams together there for a Huddersfield team.
Who's your dream coach? Who's your coach of all time?
To play under, you guys, I don't want to say really. Jacko.
Bottled it. You were going to say someone else, weren't you? Yeah. Mick Wadsworth was amazing for me. I know, like, with this. Get off.
Like, he was on. he like, for a young lad, he was brilliant. For me personally, it was class. Neil Aspin at Halifax was amazing. I know it wasn't at Huddersfield, but he was amazing. He was like the team spirit in the club was fantastic. But like Terry Oliver for Huddersfield was like quite special to me in terms of the relationship we had. I know it was Jacko's kind of like second in command, but those two were brilliant. And like I said before, like people always say, don't you hate Jacko for letting you go? Well, no, he was doing his job. He was doing his job for Huddersfield Town, and it was the best decision that he could make for Huddersfield. So why would you, obviously, I didn't want to leave Huddersfield, but those two were amazing. And I'll never forget when Jacko did let me go, and Taff at first wanted to come and see me and give me a hug, and wish me good luck and say how good he was that I was leaving. So those two were brilliant. You know, any manager that can, like I told you this story before, but any manager who can walk into a changing room, turn the lights off, grab hold of a foam roller and start hitting his own players, he's going to be a good manager for me, because that's what we did. We just spat at each other, and Jacko were right in the middle of it. And then to stick 26 players in a lift before we play Lincoln in semi-finals just for a laugh, and the lift gets stuck halfway up bloody thing, and we all had to climb out. You know, what a manager. That's exactly what you want, don't you? So I'd probably say those guys, to be honest. Yeah.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, and they're the pride of the town. And the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.